In our daily lives, we often find ourselves in situations where we need to interact with strangers. Whether it's at a social gathering, a networking event, or even just in passing on the street, the ability to effectively communicate with strangers is a valuable skill. This is where the ping pong method comes into play. The ping pong method is a simple yet effective approach to initiating and maintaining conversations with strangers. It involves a back and forth exchange of questions and responses, much like a game of ping pong. By following this method, you can break the ice, establish a connection, and keep the conversation flowing smoothly. The first step in the ping pong method is to start with an open-ended question. This allows the other person to provide a detailed response, giving you more material to work with. For example, instead of asking a closed-ended question like, "Are you enjoying the event?" you could ask, "What brings you to this event today?" This encourages the other person to share their interests or reasons for being there, opening up the conversation. Once the other person has responded, it's your turn to volley back with a related question or comment. This shows that you are actively listening and engaged in the conversation. Building on the previous example, you could respond with, "That sounds fascinating. Have you been involved in this industry for long?" By showing genuine interest and asking follow-up questions, you demonstrate that you value their input and want to learn more about them. As the conversation continues, it's important to maintain a balance between sharing about yourself and showing interest in the other person. This prevents the conversation from becoming one-sided and allows for a deeper connection to be formed. Remember, the goal is to create a comfortable and enjoyable conversation for both parties involved. Another key aspect of the ping pong method is to be mindful of nonverbal cues. Pay attention to the other person's body language, facial expressions, and tone of voice. This can provide valuable insights into their level of comfort and engagement. If you notice any signs of disinterest or discomfort, it may be a good time to switch topics or wrap up the conversation gracefully. In addition to the ping pong method, it's important to remember some general tips for talking to strangers. First and foremost, be respectful and considerate of their boundaries. Not everyone may be open to engaging in conversation, and that's okay. Respect their decision and move on. Secondly, be genuine and authentic in your interactions. People can often sense when someone is being insincere or trying too hard. Finally, practice active listening. Show that you are fully present in the conversation by maintaining eye contact, nodding, and providing verbal cues to indicate your understanding. In addition to the ping pong method, it can also be helpful to have a few go-to conversation starters in mind. These can be general topics that are likely to be of interest to most people. For example, you could ask about their favorite travel destination or a book they've recently read. This can help to break the ice and get the conversation flowing. It's also important to be aware of cultural differences when talking to strangers. Different cultures have different norms and expectations when it comes to communication. By being sensitive to these differences and adapting your approach accordingly, you can help ensure a smooth and respectful conversation. Furthermore, it's worth mentioning the importance of body language in making a positive impression on strangers. Smiling, maintaining an open posture, and using appropriate gestures can all contribute to creating a welcoming and friendly atmosphere. When people feel comfortable and at ease, they are more likely to engage in meaningful conversation. The ping pong method can be particularly useful in professional settings, such as job interviews or business meetings. By utilizing this approach, you can establish rapport and build a positive impression with potential employers or colleagues. For example, instead of asking a cliché question like, "Tell me about yourself," you could ask, "What sparked your interest in this industry and motivated you to pursue a career in it?" This question allows the other person to share their passion and drive, which can lead to a more engaging conversation. Additionally, it's important to be aware of the power of active listening in the ping pong method. Active listening involves focusing on the speaker, fully comprehending their message, and providing appropriate verbal and nonverbal responses. By actively listening, you can demonstrate empathy, understanding, and respect for the other person's thoughts and opinions. This not only creates a more meaningful conversation, but also helps to foster a deeper connection. Another valuable aspect of the ping pong method is the ability to adapt and tailor your questions and comments to the specific situation or context. Depending on the environment, you may need to modify your approach to suit the needs and preferences of the other person. For example, in a casual social gathering, you could ask lighthearted questions about hobbies or weekend plans. On the other hand, in a professional networking event, you may want to focus on industry-related topics or current trends. This flexibility allows for a more personalized and relevant conversation. Furthermore, it's essential to be mindful of your own body language when using the ping pong method. A warm and welcoming demeanor can contribute to creating a comfortable and inviting atmosphere. Avoid crossing your arms, as it can be perceived as defensive or closed off. Instead, maintain an open posture by keeping your arms relaxed and your body facing the other person. This conveys approachability and encourages a positive interaction. The ping pong method can also be applied in online settings, such as social media platforms or online forums. In these digital interactions, it is important to start with an engaging and thought-provoking question or comment. This can help to spark a conversation and capture the attention of the other person. For instance, you could ask, "What is the most surprising thing you've learned during the pandemic?" This prompts the other person to share their unique experiences and perspectives. Furthermore, when talking to strangers, it is crucial to be aware of the power dynamics that may exist in the conversation. It is important to approach the interaction with humility and respect, regardless of any differences in social status or background. This allows for a more equal and inclusive conversation where both parties feel valued and heard. Additionally, the ping pong method can be a valuable tool for building empathy and understanding. By actively listening and showing a genuine interest in the other person's experiences and opinions, you can broaden your own perspectives and foster a deeper connection. This can lead to more meaningful interactions and potentially even the development of new friendships or professional connections. The ping pong method can also be applied in situations where there is a language barrier. By utilizing simple and clear language, using gestures, and being attentive to nonverbal cues, you can establish a basic level of communication with someone who speaks a different language. This can help to break down barriers and create a sense of connection, even without full verbal understanding. In addition, it's important to be mindful of the timing and context when using the ping pong method. There may be situations where starting a conversation with a stranger is not appropriate or welcomed, such as during a quiet moment in a library or when someone is clearly busy or preoccupied. Being aware of the environment and reading the situation can help ensure that your approach is well received. Lastly, it's worth mentioning the importance of being patient and not rushing the conversation. Building a rapport with a stranger takes time and effort. By allowing the conversation to unfold naturally and showing genuine interest, you can create a space for meaningful dialogue and potentially form a connection that goes beyond a brief interaction. The ping pong method can also be applied in situations where you are in a group setting and want to initiate a conversation with multiple strangers. Instead of directing your questions or comments to one person, you can address the entire group, encouraging everyone to participate. For example, you could ask, "What's everyone's favorite thing about the event so far?" This inclusive approach fosters a sense of community and allows for a more dynamic and lively conversation to take place amongst the group. Furthermore, it's important to be mindful of the power of storytelling when using the ping pong method. Sharing personal anecdotes or experiences can be a powerful way to connect with strangers on a deeper level. The ping pong method is a valuable approach to effectively communicate with strangers. By asking open-ended questions, actively listening, and being mindful of nonverbal cues, a comfortable and enjoyable conversation can be created. It can be applied in various settings, including professional and online interactions. Additionally, adapting to the specific situation, being aware of body language, and respecting boundaries are essential. The method also promotes empathy, understanding, and the building of connections. It can be used to overcome language barriers and initiate conversations in group settings. Sharing personal stories enhances the connection with strangers. Patience and allowing the conversation to unfold naturally are key.